Can Mr. Fantastic defeat Galactus? Reed Richards, also known as Mr. Fantastic, is the smartest man in the Marvel Universe, a genius whose intellect surpasses that of most sentient beings. While he does not possess the godlike powers of Galactus, he does possess a more formidable weapon, infinite intelligence and extraordinary strategic thinking. Mr. Fantastic has faced Galactus many times, not with brute strength, but with a profound understanding of the universe and technology. He once figured out how to harness the power of the ultimate nullifier, a device that can erase all of reality, and the mere fact that he wielded it forced Galactus to retreat. While Reed cannot stand up to the near-infinite power of the world hungry, being in a direct battle, with preparation, planning, and creativity, Mr. Fantastic can absolutely defeat Galactus. In the world of intellect and science, physical strength is secondary, and sometimes a superior mind can even subdue the hungry god of the universe. In the vast Marvel universe, where dimensions overlap and ancient entities rule, a colossal threat is approaching Earth. Galactus, the mighty being known as the Devourer of Worlds, glides through space in a colossal form, his body shimmering with the light of the power cosmic, an infinite source of energy that allows him to warp reality at will. His skin is a deep purple, his eyes are red like two black holes that devour light, and his massive helmet obscures much of his face, revealing only his cold, undying expression. He travels in a giant spherical spaceship, where he summons heralds like the Silver Surfer to guide him. On Earth, in New York's Baxter Tower, the Fantastic Four are monitoring unusual signals from space. Reed Richards, aka Mr. Fantastic, a genius scientist with the ability to stretch his body like rubber, sits in front of a large screen in his laboratory. He wore his familiar blue uniform, his brown hair disheveled from long hours of research. Beside him sat Susan Storm, the Invisible Woman, with the ability to create invisible force fields and turn invisible. Johnny Storm, the Human Torch, a young man who could turn into living fire. And Ben Grimm, the Thing, a man of stone with immense strength. Reed stared at the data, his face tense under the blue glow of the screen. "Something's coming," he said, his voice professional but worried. "This energy is beyond anything we've ever seen. It could threaten the entire planet." Susan put a hand on his shoulder, her blue eyes reflecting determination. "We'll handle it, Reed." Like always. Johnny hovered around the room, his body ablaze, while Ben pounded his fists together, the sound echoing like shattering stone. Suddenly, the sky over New York darkened. Galactus appeared, his body blocking out the sun, casting a giant shadow over the city. Panicked people ran through the streets, cars jammed under the shaking skyscrapers. He raised his hand, and a pillar of power cosmic energy shot down, turning part of the ocean into an energy source for him to absorb. Silver Surfer, his herald, rode on a silver board, warning Earth, "Galactus has arrived. This planet will be his next meal." The Fantastic Four rushed out of the tower. Reed stretched out to watch from above, seeing the giant form of Galactus assembling the planet-devouring machine. "We must stop him," Reed said, his voice firm. The Fantastic Four took to the air on the Fantasticar, an F-shaped craft that shimmered in the artificial light from Galactus's ship. Johnny led the way, his body a blazing flame, cutting through the air like a shooting star. Ben sat firmly, gripping the armrests, while Susan created a protective force field around the vehicle. Reed was at the controls, his eyes focused on the target. They approached the Silver Surfer first. The silver-skinned man, his long hair blowing in the cosmic wind, stood on his surfboard, his eyes sad. "You cannot fight Galactus," he said, his voice echoing. "He is part of the universe. He needs energy to survive." Johnny fired a fireball, but the surfer dodged it easily, countering with a silver power cosmic beam. The fight broke out. Ben jumped up, punching the surfer hard, creating a loud bang. Susan blocked the beams with her force field, while Reed stretched out his arms to wrap around the surfer to restrain him. Eventually, they convinced Surfer to betray Galactus, as he is attached to Earth. Surfer leads them to Galactus's ship. Inside, the space is as vast as a planet, with metal corridors glowing with purple energy. Galactus sits on a giant throne, hundreds of meters tall, looking down at the group like an insect. "You dare challenge me?" His voice is thunderous, shaking the air. He raises his hand, and the power cosmic creates realistic illusions. Planets shatter, meteors fall, threatening the multiverse. Reed analyzes quickly. His power cosmic allows him to warp reality. In a fair fight, we don't stand a chance. But he doesn't give up. The group attacks. Johnny fires nova flames. Ben punches through walls. Susan shields. Reed looks for weak spots. Galactus easily repels. He snaps his fingers, and a storm of energy sweeps through, temporarily extinguishing Johnny's flames, and Ben flies backward. "I have devoured countless worlds," he declared, his eyes glowing red. In the depths of Galactus's massive ship, the Fantastic Four moved silently through the metallic corridors that shimmered with a pale purple light. The light from the walls seemed to come to life, flickering like the heartbeat of an ancient entity. Reed Richards, Mr. Fantastic, led the group, his body undulating like rubber to avoid the protective sensors. His blue uniform clung to his body, his sharp brown eyes scanning every dark corner. Susan Storm, the Invisible Woman, used her invisibility to conceal the group, creating an invisible force field that surrounded them like a thin veil. Johnny Storm, the Human Torch, kept his fire low, just enough to illuminate the path, the orange flames dancing across his youthful face. Ben Grimm, the Thing, trudged along, each step shaking the floor slightly, his rough orange stone body a living wall. They had received information from Uatu the Watcher, a mysterious being living on the moon, who revealed the ultimate Nullifier, a small but terrifyingly powerful weapon that could erase even immortal beings like Galactus or Abraxas, the god of destruction who had defeated countless versions of Galactus across the multiverse. "It's in the central arsenal," Reed whispered, his voice calm but determined. "We must get it before Galactus activates his Earth-devouring machine." The corridor led them to a vast room where hundreds of sentry robots hovered, their eyes glowing red, scanning the space like searchlights. Susan raised her hand, her force field flickering slightly, deflecting the scanning beams. Johnny launched a small fireball, distracting one robot, while Ben charged forward, smashing another, sending metal shards flying everywhere. Reed stretched out his arm, slipped through a narrow crack in a security door, and unlocked it with his superhuman intelligence. Finally, they found the armory. In the center was the ultimate Nullifier, a small, fist-sized sphere that glowed with a golden light like a miniature star. Reed picked it up, feeling the terrible power it exuded. "This is the only thing that will make him falter," he said, his eyes shining with iron will. Back on Earth, the skies were a chaotic mess. Crimson cracks ripped through the air, volcanoes erupted, and the oceans roared as Galactus's machines began to draw energy from the planet's core. New York City was plunged into darkness, the lights of its skyscrapers flickering weakly before the might of the great entity. Galactus towered atop his ship, his massive frame a living mountain, his crimson eyes staring down at Earth like a meal. The Fantastic Four appeared before him, flying on the Fantasticar. Reed stood on the prow, the ultimate Nullifier in his hand, the golden light of the weapon reflecting off his face, highlighting his determination. "Galactus," he shouted, his voice echoing through space. "Stop, or I will use the ultimate Nullifier." Galactus tilted his head, his massive helmet glinting in the power cosmic. "You puny creature, dare threaten me with my own power?" His voice was like thunder, shaking the air. But Reed did not flinch. He raised the Nullifier, his finger on the trigger mechanism. "This weapon can obliterate anything, including you." Even Abraxas once trembled before it. Galactus paused, his crimson eyes narrowing. He knew the power of the Nullifier, a device that could concentrate the power cosmic to destroy everything, leaving no trace. He had seen Abraxas, the supreme god of destruction, threatened by it across dimensions. To test Reed, Galactus teleported, his body dissolving into another dimension, leaving only a purple glow. But Reed had predicted this. He activated the Nullifier's fail-safe mode, emitting a small pulse of energy, enough to prove he was serious. Galactus reappeared. His expression changed, no longer arrogant. "You are reckless, Reed Richards," he said, his voice low. "But I will not risk that weapon." He raised his hand, and the devouring machine stopped, the energy beams dissipating. He turned the ship, leaving Earth's orbit, leaving a warning. "I will return." The sky over New York slowly returned to normal, the red cracks dissolving, sunlight breaking through the clouds, illuminating the city. People began to return to the streets, the sound of car horns and laughter filling the air. The Fantastic Four stood atop the Baxter Tower, overlooking the reborn city. Reed held the ultimate Nullifier, its golden glow fading, but its power still making him ponder. "We can't keep this," he said, his voice calm. "It's too dangerous." They teleported to the moon, where Uatu the Watcher was waiting. The tall, white-robed being stood on a rocky peak, his deep eyes gazing into the cosmos. Reed handed the Nullifier to Uatu. "Keep it safe," he said. Uatu nodded, saying nothing, but his eyes gleamed with respect. Back on Earth, the group celebrated their victory. Johnny launched himself into the sky, creating a ring of fire that glowed like fireworks. Ben punched the wall, laughing loudly. "Next time, I'll punch that giant right in the face." Susan hugged Reed, whispering, "You did it, like always." Reed smiled, but in his heart he knew. Galactus was not the last threat. In a distant dimension, Abraxas watched through a portal, his dark body blending into the cosmic darkness, his golden eyes flashing like flames. Reed Richards, he muttered, his voice full of malice. You may have made Galactus retreat, but I am something else entirely. A sinister smile appeared on his face, signaling new dangers. Reed returned to the lab, continuing his research to protect Earth. He knew that in a fair fight, no one could defeat Galactus. But intelligence, courage, and the right weapon had proven that even the greatest being could be threatened. The Fantastic Four stand firm, ready for the next challenge from the vast universe.